Okay, so here we go. Let's dive headlong into our review. As always, I want my reviews to be formatted in a way that, how can I say it? I really want my reviews to be formatted so that it's a discussion between you and I. It's going to be a series of questions that I will have for you. And I really want you to do your best to respond. And if you don't know the answer, then write it down, okay? My reviews are extremely specific, okay? So this is for this reason. If you do not know the answer, write it down. And if you still don't understand it after you've written it down, get with me so that I can help you to gain understanding. Okay, so we are going to bounce to some things in our book today. So just so you know, you will need that. One of the main things will probably be out of chapter 3 because we got quite a few pathological terms that we need to understand about the urinary system. Okay, so anyway, let's go over a little bit of the basics of the urinary system. Okay, how many kidneys do you have? Two. How many ureters do you have? Two. How many bladders do you have? One. How many urethras do you have? One. Okay. So you need to definitely know not only what the urinary system is composed of, 2 kidneys, 2 ureters, 1 bladder, 1 urethra, but you also need to know the function of each of those, okay? So we've got a lot of stromal tissue in the urinary system, right? First off, what is stromal tissue? Supporting tissue, right? So in that sense, what organs of the urinary system are supported?
The ureter, the bladder, and the urethra.
That's right. Everything but the kidneys are stromal in the sense that they are supportive in nature, okay? So the kidneys are going to be what's cleaning the blood. Just about every 5 minutes, it's going to clean all of the blood, okay? And it's going to produce the urine, which is the waste, okay? And then, of course, the ureters are going to be responsible for transporting that urine or that waste that the kidneys has cleaned the blood of, okay, otherwise called urine, down from the kidneys into the bladder. The bladder is going to be responsible for holding all of that waste until it gets filled and needs to be excreted. And the urethra, make sure you know it's urethra, is responsible for doing that actual transport from the bladder to the outside of your body. Okay? So you need to make sure that you understand each portion of the urinary system. And I think we all do, so let's push on. Okay? So my first question for you is going to be why I put 1.5 to 2.5. What is that?
The amount of urine you should produce in a day.
Right. And so should a baby produce this much urine in a day? No. This is 1.5 to 2.5 liters per day is average for an adult. You need to know that. 1.5 to 2.5 liters per day is what's average for an adult. So as we are all adults here, you personally should be producing 1.5 to 2.5 liters of urine, in which to say liters of waste per day. And if you're not, then that tells us there's something wrong with how your kidneys are cleaning the blood. Because we know that this stuff is in the blood. Just as a quick question, it's not on here. What is the urine composed of? 95% what?
Water.
Yes, 95% water, and then 5% solid or formed elements, okay? In which to say that this is going to be that urea, uric acid, and creatinine. We're going to talk a little bit more about creatinine a little bit later. We're going to talk a little bit more about urea a little bit later, how they are formed particularly. Anyway, talking about the calces. When we're talking about the calces, in first off, where are the calces located? Inside the kidney. Okay. Generally speaking, it's inside the kidney. So now we can get a little more detail. Okay. So inside the kidneys, what are the calces for? What do they do for us? What do they kind of initiate? Or at least tell me, what do they look like? What kind of edges do they have? Cup-like edges. You need to know that. Okay, then you have cup-like edges, but moreover, the calces are going to be the, so to speak, at the entrance or the exit, so to speak, to the pyramids, in which to say the calces have the cup-like edges and will eventually become the renal pelvis, and the renal pelvis eventually becomes the ureters. Okay? Who didn't get that? Who needs me to repeat it? Okay, so this is to say, when we think about the calces, okay? The calces, or I don't know the singular version of that, but anyway, the calces is the exit from the pyramid. Okay, because we need to remember the pyramids is where the functional unit of the kidney lives, the nephron. Okay? And so, of course, the nephron is going to be the thing that's cleaning all the blood. Okay? But what are we doing with all that waste? It's got to leave the pyramid. In order for it to leave the pyramid and go into the renal pelvis, it's got to go through the calces. Okay? And, of course, once again, the calces will become the renal pelvis, and the renal pelvis will become the ureters, and the ureters will lead to the bladder. Okay, we have understanding now. Anyone else need me to repeat it? Okay, so let's push. We already said this, but what is the functional unit of the kidney? The nephron. How many do you have per kidney?
1.2 million.
Approximately 1.2 billion for each kidney. On this exam, you may see about 1 million. That answer is also correct. Okay? So now we're going to talk about those three waste products. What are those three waste products again that your body is, hey, we definitely need to get rid of this stuff. What is it?
Urea, uric acid, and creatinine.
Very good. Urea, uric acid, and creatinine. Urea, uric acid, and creatinine. Urea, U-R-E-A, uric acid, U-R-I-C, acid, and creatinine. Not to be confused with creatine, but creatinine. Okay? So now we're going to talk about how the urea is formed. Okay? Because what happens is that your body says, wait a minute, I don't want any of this. I do not want any of this urea, but we need to maybe understand how, like I said, that urea is formed. And the urea is formed from the breakdown of protein. When we break down protein, urea is formed. When we break down protein, urea is formed. For those of you, I feel some questions, so I'm going to break that down a little bit more, okay? So this is to say that your body uses protein to rebuild muscle. Okay? But just like when you build a house, okay, you need raw materials to build that house, right? Okay, and once again, that the raw materials is going to be that protein. But when you're building a house, you have all this trash, all of these leftovers from building the house. Maybe the wrappers on the nails, maybe the extra siding that you got, maybe the few extra bricks, blah, blah, blah. All this extra trash that you really don't need. Okay? So this is to say that the urea is that extra trash that you really don't need. Okay? Urea is created as a waste product of when protein is broken down. When we break down protein, we get urea. Who doesn't get that? Who needs me to repeat it? Okay? So, let's push. Let's talk about the cortex. Where is the cortex? Outer layer of the kidney. You need to know this is not a part of your internal structure of the kidney. Not a part of your internal structure. This is the external. It's almost like the outside of the kidney, or it is the outside of the kidney. And this is to say that this is not a part of your internal structure of the kidney. It's a part of the internal structure of you, but not a part of the internal structure of the kidney. Make sure you know that. Anyway, I told you very briefly what calculi meant. Okay, and there's a couple ways we can say this, but if we have renal calculi, first off, what does that word renal mean?
Kidney.
Pertaining to the kidney, right? Pertaining to the kidney. That ren is kidney, AL is going to be pertaining to. So renal calculi, if you got renal calculi, that's really painful. You have what? Kidney stones, okay? And because calculi means stone. Lith also means stone, okay? But we're going to use that in a different way, just so you know. This is a clue as for lith. Okay? we're going to do something, we're going to talk about something else that's new. For those of you who are looking at that word, the next word, pyelonephritis, like what the French toast is this, don't worry, we're going to get there. Okay? So I told you that renal means what again?
Pertaining to the kidney.
Pertaining to the kidney, but in the urinary system, there are a lot of words, or so to speak, more than one word that means pertaining to the kidney, so to speak. Itis does mean inflammation, but in this, what I want you to focus on for now is nephra. Kind of like nephron, but nephra also means kidney. Okay, nephra also means kidney. When we're talking about the kidney, the reason why there are two different ones is because when we're talking about something that's pertaining to the kidney, so something that's inside of the kidney, we're going to use renal. When we're talking about just the kidney, we use nephra. Just kidney. Not pertaining to the kidney, but just kidney. And that's the reason why I wanted you guys to verbalize that. When I said renal means pertaining to the kidney, because nephra would have thrown you off if you had not have known that. Okay? Nephra means kidney. Just kidney. Just so you know. Now let's talk about pyle. Okay, it's literally pronounced pyle. P-Y-E-L. Okay, you should have read about this, but nonetheless, pyle, or we see pyelonephritis. Pyle means renal. Excuse me, I just lost that thought. Apologies. Pyle means renal pelvis. Yes, thank you. Did you say that before? Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you for reminding me about that. I don't know why that's in my mind. Anyway, pyle means renal pelvis. Okay? And remember, the renal pelvis is going to be the thing that turns into the ureters. Okay? And so, in this sense, pyelonephritis, if we broke that word down, as in itis, you should know means what? Inflammation. Very good. If we broke that word down, now that we know what pyle means and nephra means, what is? We can definitely say that pyelonephritis means inflammation of the renal pelvis in the kidney. Okay, or you could say inflammation of the kidney's renal pelvis. Okay, that root word cyst, C-Y-S-T. Okay, that is a root word. That is not a word. Okay, in medicine it is indeed, if you have like a sebaceous cyst or something like that. But in the urinary system, cyst means bladder. C-Y-S-T means bladder. And then again, we know itis means what? Inflammation. So if I told you that cyst means bladder, then itis means inflammation. What is cystitis?
Inflammation of the bladder.
Inflammation of the bladder, or bladder inflammation. I would rather you say inflammation of the bladder. Better for understanding. Okay, so let's talk about dialysis. Okay, would you agree that dialysis can be done indefinitely until a new kidney is transplanted? Yes. There are people who are on dialysis for their whole life. It sucks. Okay? Would you agree that dialysis cleans the blood of toxins?
Yes.
Okay, superfiltration. Very good. Would you agree that dialysis is not a cure?
Correct.
It is not.
It is not a cure.
here.
Right. And in that sense, okay, so wait a minute. If you saw all of those things, you would choose which one?
What's it gonna?
If you saw all of those things there that I just named, which one would you choose?
For what? I mean,
If you saw that dialysis is, yes, that's not a cure, and you saw that dialysis can be done indefinitely, and you saw that dialysis cleans the blood of toxins, which one would you choose? All of them, right? So, in this sense, you need to make sure you know that dialysis indeed does all of those things. Okay, you need to know that dialysis does all of those things. Cleans the blood from toxins, is not a cure for kidney disease, okay, and can be done indefinitely if need be until a kidney transplant takes therapy could be. Yes. Dialysis is not chemotherapy. Well, it's not even the same idea. Okay? So make sure you know that. This is a new thing. Okay? Turn to page 147 on your books, please. Page 147 in your books, please.
You said 147%?
Yes, please. Yes.
Movie. No, that sucks.
Okay. Now term, everyone on page 147? Yes. Okay. Particularly, I want you to pay attention to those first two, a bun and a cat, or CCT. And then also a cub and an IVU, or IV. We're about to explain it, don't worry. Don't worry.
Never mind.
Yeah, you're going to see it and you're going to understand in just a second. So, first off, let's go over what a bun is, okay? I'm not sure how I meant to go over this. This is mostly the reason why we're going to test on Wednesday, okay? So, I'm going to read this and then I'm going to break it down for those different learning styles that I have here, okay? So, a bun means blood, urea, nitrogen, okay? Blood test that measures the amount of nitrogenous waste in the circulatory system. An increased level is an indicator of kidney dysfunction. Okay? Creatinine test, not creatine, but creatinine test, is a test of kidney function that measures the rate at which nitrogenous waste is removed from the blood by comparing it to its concentration in the blood and urine over a 24-hour period. Okay? So now I'm going to explain that really quickly for you. This is to say, if we need to do if we're doing a bun test, B-U-N, otherwise a blood, urea, nitrogen test, okay, we need to know that those three waste products, urea, creatinine, and uric acid, are going to, we're basically, those three things together are known as nitrogenous waste, in which to say that if you have nitrogenous waste in your blood, okay, this is to say that you got at least these three things in your blood. The reason why we would do a bun is to test how much of that nitrogenous waste you have in your blood. Because we don't want you to have too much of that nitrogenous waste in your blood. In fact, if you have too much of that nitrogenous waste in your blood, you could become septic. In which to say, I don't know if you've ever heard of somebody becoming septic, but it's when your body literally shuts down, okay? Otherwise, what can happen is your blood could literally turn into acid and you would die, okay? So, no bueno. All right, so this is say, if we're doing a bun test, all right, we're just checking how much nitrogenous waste you have in your body because we know that the kidneys cleans, it should totally clean the blood every how long?
5 minutes.
Every 5 minutes, okay? So if the kidneys is cleaning the blood every 5 minutes, then there shouldn't be much in there. Okay, so now let's talk about the difference between a bun and a CCT, or CAT test, as we call it in medicine. CCT, or creatinine clearance test, is kind of the same idea of a bun test. And which is to say we're checking the blood to see how much nitrogenous waste is there, but done over a 24-hour period. So let's not just see how much waste is in your blood at this one time when we did that one test. Let's see how your kidneys do over a 24-hour period. When you're sleeping, how does it do? When you're eating, how does it do? When you are doing this activity, how does it do? So a CCT test, or CAT test, is going to be basically a bun test done over a period of 24 hours. Okay? The reason why they have different titles is because a bun test, blood urea nitrogen test is going to be looking particularly for the presence of urea, while a CCT or creatinine clearance test is going to particularly be looking for the presence of creatinine in your blood. But I want you to know once again that all three of those things still do qualify as nitrogenous waste. Are you still with me? Okay. I get to move on. Do we know what a bun and CCT are? Okay, sweet. Now, jump down to intravenous urography. Okay? Intravenous urography is a, got a lot of root words in it, but nonetheless, the definition of it is a radiographic imaging of the kidneys, ureters, and bladder done with a contrast medium, also called intravenous pyelography. Okay? Now, I'm going to break down just some of the roots in that word, intravenous urography. Okay? Graphy, okay, you should have learned this. No, definitely you two did. But graphy means the process of recording something. So if it is the process of recording something, we see sometimes that, let's say we think about it, let's say EKGs. Okay? I think we all know, I got to tell it 15 minutes, guys. I need 15 more minutes. Okay? So, gosh, what was I talking about? Okay. So IVP, graphy. Yes. So graphy is going to be the process of recording, while graph is the machine that's used to get the recording, and gram is going to be the recording itself. Okay? Just so you know, that's the difference between gram, graph, and graphy. The process of recording something is going to be graphy. Okay, so when we see graphy on the end of something, we're talking about just the process. We're not talking about the machine. We're not talking about the individual recording itself. We're just talking about the process of doing it. Okay? So, to say that it is a radiographic image of the kidneys, the ureters, and the bladder, that brings me to my next point of what a cub is. K-U-B. Okay? Cub is basically an abbreviation to say kidneys, ureters, bladder. But particularly, it's saying this is a radiographic image of the kidneys, ureters, and bladder. So in order to the process of doing an intravenous urography is by taking a radiographic image, in which to say an X-ray, so to speak, or maybe a CT scan, of the kidneys, ureters, and bladder. So in this sense, we cannot have an IVP, intravenous pyelography. Okay, notice it can also be called IVP. Okay, I feel like I'm losing some of you. Hold on. Okay, we cannot have an IVP without a KUB, because the IVP does an image of the KUB. Let me break that down. The IVP is the same as intravenous urography, which is a radiographic image of the kidneys, ureters, and bladder, otherwise abbreviated as CUB, K-U-B. We cannot have an IVP without a KUB. Who doesn't get how we got from IVP to KUB? Be honest. Who needs me to say that again? Okay. So, intravenous urography. We now have a basic understanding that an intravenous urography is a process by which we are taking a picture, a radiographic image of the kidney, the ureters, and the bladder. Okay? Now that IV, or otherwise abbreviated IVU, okay? The same thing, if we wanted to say that in a different way, we could say IVP, intravenous pyelography. Okay? Wait a minute, we just learned what that means, pyel, P-Y-E-L. What does pyel mean? renal pelvis, okay? So this is to say, when we say an IVP, okay, it is the same as an IVU, or intravenous urography, okay? It's just, when we say IVP, it gives us more detail as to how we're taking that picture. In this particular sense, they're going in through the renal pelvis, down the ureters, and into the bladder in order to take that picture of the kidneys. That's what's happening. So you need to know, an IVP is a picture of the kidneys, ureters, and bladder. Okay? And the kidneys, ureters, and bladder, K-U-B. Kidneys, ureter, bladder. K-U-B. Okay? Now, I don't want you to think that a K-U-B just means kidneys and ureters and bladder. It means a radiographic image of the kidneys, ureters, and bladder. Okay? So in this sense, we must have an IV. If we're doing an IVP, okay, it's the same as a KUB. Okay? It's just how we're going to do the IV, or how we're going to do the KUB. Okay? We good? Sweet. A few more things. We're going to do the other half tomorrow. Okay? So, what is located retroperitoneal? Kidneys. Okay? Remember, that's if you stood up and put your hands on your waist, okay? And then your thumbs pointing back, and then you go up and up and up until you feel your ribs. That's where your kidneys are. Okay? Pushing on. Tomorrow's going to be a bit more complex, guys, just so you know. Albuminuria. That's another maybe kind of new one that you should have read about. Okay? We already know that urea means what? Urine, okay? And then that prefix tells us what's in the urine. Because that's really what we want to know. So albuminuria tells us that there is protein in the urine. Because albumin means protein. Albumin means protein. You've seen this already, but a bun, you need to know, is looking for the nitrogenous waste in your blood. Who thinks they know what we would call blood in the urine? Hematuria. Very good. All right, hematuria, because that hemat means blood, and then, of course, urea, which tells us urine. So, blood in the urine. Okay? There are quite a few of those in the urines that you need to know. Okay? The next one is going to be pyuria. This is not pyuria. Okay? A lot of people confuse it with this. P-Y, means pus. Okay? So, if you got pyuria, what does that mean? Pus in your urine. Very good. Okay? Pus in your urine. Bad. We don't want pus in our urine. Okay? Let's go over nocturia. I think they know what, I haven't told you, maybe I haven't told you yet, but that word noct, that prefix noct, N-O-C-T, what do you think that means? Night. Right? Noct, like nocturnal, okay? Noct means night. If somebody's got nocturia, this means they have excessive urine at night. Excessive urination at night. This is to say you are getting up, like this is not, oh, I went to go this is a patient. I went to go pee twice last night. Oh, I must have nocturia. No. Okay? That's not what that means. This means you can almost not sleep. That's how much you're going to get up and go urinate. Okay? Yes, you will be. But this is usually as a result of excessive thirst, polydipsia. Anyway, we're going to get that. You need to know that ugly, okay? Ugly, kind of like ugly, but with an O. Ugly means scant or scanty. Okay? Ugliuria literally means you go and you scanty urination. Okay? You go and you go to try to go pee. This is the patient talking to you. I go to try to go pee and just a little bit comes out. It just sprinkles. That's it. That's what scanty means. just a little bit. Okay? Glyuria. You should know what this one means. Glycosuria means what?
Sugar in the urine.
Sugar in the urine. Very good. Excessive thirst. Like you are really, 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 really thirsty. Okay? Is to polydipsia. Polydipsia. Poly meaning excessive, dips meaning thirst. Ia meaning condition of, just so you know. Polydipsia, you need to know it, means excessive thirst. And we'll see this generally with people with diabetes, I think insipidus. Insipidus. Anyway, what do the calces look like? They have cup-like edges. Got to know that, okay? I don't know why that's so important, but you need to know that the calces have cup-like edges. Okay, so if polydipsia means what?
Excessive thirst.
Excessive thirst, then what do you think polyuria means?
Excessive urination.
Okay, so do you think that somebody who has polydipsia, who is suffering from polydipsia, would also be suffering from polyuria? You don't think so?
Yeah.
You would think so, right? And the reason why is because what goes in must come out. Okay? And which to say that if you're drinking a lot, okay, maybe literally, all right, if you're drinking a lot, you turn it up, okay, then you might have polyuria, in which to say you got to get up every 10 minutes to go pee, okay, or void, or micturate, or urinate, okay. Polydipsia is something that we see with, something that we see in the case of polydipsia. Last thing I want to go through for today is anuresis versus enuresis. I'm trying to find it for you in the book. Okay, there it is. Turn to page 138. Get there quickly. We got 3 minutes. Page 138. Just about everything on the second half of actually just about everything on 138 you will see again. First off, so highlight it all. You need to know all of them, okay? Every single bit. We're going to see it some more on our second half of our review, but my main goal right now is to go over the difference between anuresis and enuresis. I don't think anuresis is on.
You got anuria.
Enuresis is on its
Yeah,
page.
anuresis on. It's on page 137. Yeah, apologies. So let's do anuresis first, otherwise called anuria. Okay? Just so you know, you should have learned this in intro, so my intro students should definitely know this. An means what?
Without
Without. An means without. Urea means what?
urine.
Okay? So, or urination. In this case, if you are suffering from anuresis or anuria, this means that you don't have any urine. There's no urine. Okay? If there's no urine, this tells us, wait, there is something seriously wrong with our kidneys. Okay? Seriously, seriously wrong with our kidneys. You need to know anuresis. So wait a minute, if anuresis means too much urine, enuresis, as we turn to page 138, means usually means bedwetting. This is associated with bedwetting. Because this means too much.
What?
I can't breathe, so I don't know what you're talking about. I can't really hear what you're saying. I just can't breathe.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
Hey, but I was in school though.
anuresis is without. An means without urination or urine. You don't have any urine, so therefore you don't urinate. Okay? And enuresis is usually going to be you got too much. Okay? You so much you bedwetting. Okay? We can also associate this with diurnal. Okay? Diurnal, which means during the day. Meaning you're always going to go pee during the day, or urinate, or void, or micturate. Okay? Anuresis versus enuresis. Once again, you will see just about everything on page 138. I think I see one thing that you will not see.
What's that?
Right. So one thing. So no everything here. We're gonna hit it up tomorrow. Nonetheless, I'm done with you. So get out of here. I'm done with groceries. Hurry.